His name is babashuaib. So babashuaib is originally from Ghana. He is now based in Europe. He's a Quranic researcher and a critical thinker based on religion who is a Muslim. He does online lectures based on the guidance of the Quran alone on platforms such as Facebook and YouTube, and recently TikTok. He has a background in MSA and Classical Arabic, and he has translated the Great Quran with transliteration 2021 edition, and is the author of Refer to the Quran Volume 1. Brother, his name is babashuaib. So babashuaib is originally from Ghana. He is now based in Europe. He's a Quranic researcher and a critical thinker based on religion who is a Muslim. He does online lectures based on the guidance of the Quran alone on platforms such as Facebook and YouTube, and recently TikTok. He has a background in MSA and Classical Arabic, and he has translated the Great Quran with transliteration 2021 edition, and is the author of Refer to the Quran Volume 1.
I have not gone to any Islamic university. No Islamic school, no Islamic college, no Islamic university, but I'm giving talks. Thousands are coming, 10,000 are coming. I don't know Arabic as a language, number two. I'm not Hafizul Quran. Many people think I'm Hafizul Quran, I'm not. I have not gone to any Islamic university. No Islamic school, no Islamic college, no Islamic university, but I'm giving talks. Thousands are coming, 10,000 are coming. I don't know Arabic as a language, number two. I'm not Hafizul Quran. Many people think I'm Hafizul Quran, I'm not.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Peace be upon you all. Thank you all for coming. This is another week. And this is the correctional officer, babashuaib. You're welcome to my page, and I chose today, Friday. Mohammed, you're laughing, huh? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I chose Friday today. I was still planning to do Wednesdays and Saturdays, but I have to still reschedule my programs, my times, so that I can get to do Wednesdays and Saturdays. But for now, let me do today. Then we figure out the coming future, inshallah. Thank you all for coming. We have Safiya Stusi, Ibrahim Muhammad Salam, Shazma Salam, Tujis, I see you Salam, Abu Thomas, I see you Salam, Ismail Ajani, Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wayaka. Momadi Pedro, I see you Salam. Malam Tunde, I see you. Sister Alma Johnson, I see you representing. I see you, Abdul Qudus, Salam. And then on TikTok, I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at the same time. Salam, Ajayi Oluwasen. And I see you, Al Hassan. Is it Al Hassan Baba what? Baba Dicha. Yes, I apologize if I am not able to pronounce your name well. Because some of the names I'm now getting accustomed to that, so I apologize. But on TikTok, I'm streaming live on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, stay on TikTok. But however, in case I'm sharing the screen to show the verses, you might not be able to see it from TikTok, unless if you watch the playback on YouTube or Facebook later on, right? Then you can see whatever I've shown on the screen due to this. So thank you all once again for coming. I appreciate that. And Ba'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge with Allah against the accursed devil. This is my way. Yeah. Okay. My someone says my mic is low. Okay, I've just increased the volume. So let's see. Oh, sorry. I need to. Yeah, I need to cross-check the sound as well, which I usually do. My usual routine, but I forgot to cross-check the sound as well. Okay, yeah, now it's good. Okay, so thank you all once again for coming. This is the correctional officer, the Q&A section, right? Based on during the week, questions have been asked, and I prefer that the audience should get to hear or to get to know what it is and how to go by such questions, right? And this is one of the series I've actually been inspired to bring on board, because a lot of people seem to have a lot of questions along the way, keep asking a lot, and it takes more of my time if I have to devote my time texting or answering people by voicemail. So I prefer, why don't I take the bigger questions that people have asked, right, that I don't usually have time to type to them? Why don't I bring it and discuss? And many a times, a lot of the people have been appreciative for the program I've been doing lately. So I just decided, let me keep up with this. Salam Musa Arabago, you're welcome. Salam Marwan Divaj, you're welcome as well. I'm just checking the time, because after a particular time, I cannot say salams again. I have to move on with the program. So thank you all for coming once again. And please, if you're new to the correctional officer, right, babashuaib, if you're getting in touch with me newly, please kindly do yourself a favor, introduce yourself to me, right? Don't just write to me, hey brother, like I need the PDF Quran, or hey brother, I just watch your video. Okay, this. No, please. Because remember, I've not opened an institution whereby I'm teaching people. I'm just doing it for the sake of God. You are not paying me for this. So what I do is I prefer people to have that due diligence and respect when you're approaching me, right? So if you're approaching me, remember, it took me years to get to the position I am in. So when you're coming to me, humble yourself, introduce yourself, right? Don't come and disguise your profile, your identity, to me. babashuaib, I'm not hiding my identity. I'm out there. My name is out there. I have nothing to hide to the people. So please, if you come to me and trying to talk to me, identify yourself, introduce yourself, be open to me. Don't come and disguise yourself, because along the way, I've had even mushriks trying to disguise their identity and talk to me. So I try to avoid such things, right? So please, when you come, you introduce yourself to me. Like, don't go to the side when I say, let me see who you are, and you tell me no. Then the conversation ends. So imagine Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Quran chapter 18, verse 65. You read up to verse 82, when he went to his teacher to seek for knowledge. Imagine him telling him that, hey, I have to hide my face, and you don't need to know my background for personal reasons, but still I want to learn from you. No, it doesn't work like that, right? So please be open. When I ask you questions about you, be willing to answer me. Be open. If you have nothing to hide, then why even interact with me? You understand? So keep that in mind. And I know this video will be on YouTube, and I will leave this part and people will get to hear. Salam Swale Abdurrahman, Abubakar Abdul Jalil, you're welcome. Yusuf Saliu, you're welcome. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate your presence. Abdul Rashid Bansi, I see your question. I'll be coming to your question later. However, let me give priority to the first questions I've been asked, and the reason why I'm mainly here. When there is enough time, I'll focus on your question. So anybody who has question, whether if you ask your question, I'll just tip your question, pin it somewhere, and I'll come back to those questions and answer them later, inshallah. So thank you for coming. Kaisar, Sister Zainab, I see you. You're welcome. Yeah. So I was asked a question concerning Salatul Jum'a, right? At what time is it? That is the problem. The person says Salatul Jum'a at what time is it? Now this is the problem. Even though I have videos where I spoke about this, but I think I have to speak about it in a more profound way. And I think now I have, the best platform that I can actually express myself presentably, and people can get to watch it, with all calmness. So when we say, first of all, Salatul Jum'ah, you see this kalima, the word which says salat, and then we have al-jum'ah. These two kalimat, these two words, there is nowhere in the Quran, I repeat, there is nowhere in the Quran which explicitly says Salatul Jum'ah, unless if you are ignorant, and especially the ignorant one listening right now. Unless if you are ignorant, you think in the Quran it says Salatul Jum'ah. It doesn't say that. And I repeat, there is nowhere in the Quran which explicitly, listen carefully, because I see I seem to have a lot of people having the problem when it comes to listening and then listening carefully. There's nowhere where it says Salatul Jum'ah. When you go to Surah Al-Jum'ah, chapter 62, verse 9, right? In that verse, okay, before we go to the verse, in the chapter says Surah Al-Jum'ah. Now, when we say Jum'at, which is a noun, it has the taw marbut at the end. It's a noun, a feminine noun. Now, when we say Jum'at, it comes from the word Jama'a. The root word is Jama'a. It's like to gather something, to congregate something, to group something in an instance. But when we say Jama'a, we are talking about a gathering. So when it becomes a noun and with a definite article, al-Jum'ah, we are talking about the congregation, right? Now, in order to understand what is the chapter about, you have to go through the chapter itself. You have to read. And when we say surah, chapter, it's a subdivision of a written work, usually numbered and titled. So the title gives you the clue of what you're going through. So the chapter, the headline is what? Al-Jum'ah. When you go into the chapter, the main instance of the Al-Jum'ah, which is mentioned at the title, is mentioned in chapter 62, verse 9. So I'm going to put the verse on the screen and you get to know what is this. You're welcome, brother Ark Isaac. Amen. And salam, Robson. And salam for those on TikTok. Thank you for coming. So I'm done with the salams. Thank you for coming. So I'm going to put the verse on the screen and let's see chapter 62, verse 9, right? Right. Unfortunately, for those on TikTok, you will not be able to see it. But if you are viewing from Facebook or YouTube via my same name, the Correctional Officer, then you can see me live, right? So, sorry. So here is the verse on the screen. So he says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. Then he says ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. Now what is the verse simply saying? It says, "O you who believe or who have believed." Then he says, when called to the what? To the salat, that is the litany. To the salat, when called to the salat. From the day of what? Congregation, right? From the day of congregation. Now, if you check on the screen, the yomi, for those who know in the grammatical instance where we have the idaf ilayhi or mudaf ilayhi, the grammatical instance, the yomi mentioned, it comes with the al-jum'ati, but the yomi doesn't have a definite article on it. But because the congregation, the al-Jum'ah, has the adatul tarif, which is the definite article, so it allows Yawmi to have the day of congregation, right? Now, so from the day Yawmi, now the reason why into bracket I put time, because in the Quran, in another context, al-Yawm can mean time. For instance, al-Yawm in front of God, is thousands of years, according to Quran chapter 22, right? Suratul Hajj. If you read chapter, whoever has read the chapter, you know. Now it says Al-Yawm in front of God is thousands of years. So in this timeline, it becomes a time, a period, right? But now, from the period of congregation, or from the time of congregation, or from the day of what? Congregation. Now, the reason why the congregation has Adatul Tarif, the definite article, is to signify why the chapter was even named as Al-Jum'ah. Remember, it doesn't say Yawm al-Jum'ah as the title. As some so-called mainstream sectarians usually translate the chapter as the Friday. No, it doesn't. So Al-Jum'ati is talking about the congregation. It's a definite article, right? Now, however, so let's see. Then God says, then proceed to the remembrance of God, Zikrullah, because Salat is about the Zikr. If you check Quran chapter 20, verse 14, where God says, Innani anallah la ilaha illa ana, fa'budini wa akimi salat li zikri. You establish Salat. The essence of your Salat is to remember God, for the remembrance of God. That's why we establish Salat. If anybody tells you any other thing else, it makes no sense. God is speaking. God says you establish the Salat for the Zikrullah. That is the main purpose of Salat. Then he says, and leave sale, bay'ah, which means on that day of congregation, of gathering, sale is going on, right? So when you are called on the day of congregation, on that day, when you're called to the Salat, because there's a congregation of sale going on, business going on, entertainment going on, that is the gathering, why you are gathering. That is why you have the congregation around. Do you understand me? So when you are called, so leave the sale, which is distracting you on that day, leave it, and then go to the remembrance of God. Then God says that is better for you if you should know, because the Salat is to get you closer to God, right? Your tijara, your entertainment, your business can take you far away from God. When people become successful in life, they have money, they have their businesses going on, they tend to be low in faith. They forget God. They keep up with the worldly desires because they think they are successful. And that is why, excuse me to say, a lot of people based in the Western world, they tell you there's no God. I don't believe in God because he wakes up, he has social welfare. If he's not working, the government will take care of him. He has everything accessible. And if he has a good life and he has high standard type of life and he's working, he has his income, salary, he can afford whatever he wants. He thinks, I don't need God. Do you understand? So for a believer, getting closer to God is the epitome of your life because without God, you're nothing, right? And no matter how successful you are in life, if God takes your soul away, those things you have are useless. You understand? So if you should know, the Salat is more, important for you. So then we go to verse 10. Then now God says, فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةِ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Then he says, وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So now it says, and when the litany, that is the Salat, is done, is concluded, is finished. Remember, it has a beginning time and it has the ending time. So when it is done, because remember, you left your sale to go. So now when it's done, or maybe you have finished your sale and you went. So when it's done, this is what God asks you to do. Then disperse in the land or on earth. Just disperse. Go wherever you want now. And seek from the favor of God. Fadlillahi. He didn't say go back to the business. We know some people will go back to the business. Fine. But disperse. And seek the favor from God, of God, and commemorate God frequently. Keep God to remembrance, right? Don't just forget God after your Salat and you think you are done. Zikr can also continue even after Salat. So put God here in your mind and soul. So now, frequently, so that you may succeed. In order to be successful, remembrance of God has to keep you successful. Somebody might say, then why does God has to give us fixed time for Salat if we can remember him every time? The notion of the fixed time for you to establish Salat is to know actually now so that you don't forget God. Because sometimes we are occupied with the worldly desire. Without a fixed time, we can forget God. So he gave you fixed time. As a believer, you remember, oh, wow, it's time for my Salat, so I have to go. So even if you have forgotten God the whole day, if when it's time for the Salat, you remember. Just like when we have appointments in life with people, with, official matters. Do you get my point? So that is why Quran chapter 4 verse 103, God says, Inna salata kanat alal mu'minina kitaban mawquta. Salat is only there for believers. If you are a mushrik, stop doing salat. You're wasting your time. Salat is only for believers. And the believers, upon them, they have decreed times or times, written times, and it's in the Quran. They know the purpose of salat and they know the benefits of salat. Okay. So now I've just read chapter 62, verse 9 to verse 10. And now I'm going to verse 11 so that you know the context is going to deduce and tell you the subject we are discussing, which is Al-Jum'ah. The context is going to tell you what is the essence of that day. Is it a fixed day as people are saying Friday? Is it a fixed day as people are saying, oh, this is the Muslim Sabbath? Where did God say that? Or are you forming your own doctrines? Okay, let's check. 62, verse 11. Then God is now going to talk about the people who are called to the salat. God is going to talk about them. So God says, وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً أَوْ لَهْوَةً. Then he says, إِنْفَدُوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ. You the prophet, وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. Then he says, Kul. He's telling the prophet, the messenger, to tell them, Kul. مَا إِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ. Then he says what? وَمِنَ التِّجَارَةِ. Then he says, وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. Now this is where a human being, you should be attentive, right? Pay attention. Thank you all for the gifts on TikTok. Pay attention. Your tijara, your business, your entertainment, anything you have in life is not more beneficial than attending to God, because you are on earth because of God. Number one. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Quran chapter 51 verse 56. Your main objective is because of God. But it doesn't mean you don't have time for other activities. That's why God says, when the salat is done, go back and seek the favor of God. Go and do what you want. It's simple as ABCD. You have an appointment with God, deal with that first. When you're done, go for your entertainment. He's not stopping you from your entertainment. But however, giving priority to your business, giving priority to your entertainment over God, that's a big gamble. But the same God can take the business away from you, and he can squash your entertainment. Simple logic there. So as a believer, pay attention to God first. Put everything aside. If it has to do the time of God, give it to the time of God. You imagine a woman. Let's not talk about God now. You imagine even a woman, and she needs attention, and you refuse to give her attention at her own time that she needs the attention. What do you think will happen? Hell will break loose on that day. So now imagine the God who created you, and he gave you appointment, and you refuse to attend to the appointment, and you go and give credence to entertainment or your business that he provided for you. And then you put him on standby. And the funny part is the mushriks even have what they call Tarkus Salat. Tarkus Salat means something you left behind. So Tarkus Salat, they left a Salat behind, and then they will come and stand in front of God. Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And they keep going, and then they say Allahu Akbar, and blah, 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 blah. Then what are you doing? Are you joking with God? He gave you an appointment, you put him on standby, and you go and serve your slave masters or whatever, and then you put God on standby, you come to him later. Really? Okay. So the verse is clearly saying, but when they saw a business or an entertainment, they rushed to it and left you, the prophet, standing, because he is the imam at that time. Remember the context we are talking about. He is the imam of the believers at that time. If you go to Quran chapter 4 verse 102, he led them salat. He led them to a salat at that time. Right? So they left you standing. Then God asked the messenger, tell them, say, what is with God is better than entertainment and what? And business. What is with God is better than all these things. For God is the best of providers, because eventually he provided you the opportunity to do whatever you are doing. He can restrict you from having entertainment. Imagine somebody who is paralyzed, or who is in coma, or who is struck with some sickness that you cannot have your entertainment. Where's the entertainment now? You understand? Imagine if you have a business and it collapses your business. What are you going to do? How do you start? And where do you end? Do you get the point? So attend to him first. He will materialize, facilitate whatever you want afterwards. Just attend to God. Simple. Now, the main question. The person says, Salatul Jum'ah. At what time is it? So first of all, we just checked the verse. We didn't see something called Salatul Jum'ah. Salam, servant of God. You're welcome. Servant of what? Yeah. You don't see a verse in the Quran where it says Salatul Jum'ah. So that's number one. It doesn't exist. No such thing as Salatul Jum'ah. So somebody will say, then why do Muslims play? No, it's not Muslims. Why do mushriks pray Salatul Jum'ah? Yeah, you can ask that question. They are mushriks, yes, because Sahih Bukhari and whatever books they have, they concocted that to add to Islam. And remember, that's why they call themselves Sunni Muslim, Shia Muslim, Ahmadiyya Muslim. The last time I checked, Quran chapter 27, verse 91, the Prophet was told to say, Wa umirtu an akuna min al-muslimin. He's been commanded to be of the Muslims, not of the Ali Sunnah Muslims or Wahhabiyya, Salafiyya, call it everything, Istakama, whatever you want to call yourself. He wasn't commanded to be such. He was commanded to be of the what? Al-Muslimin. So coming back to Quran chapter 62, verse 9 to verse 11, if you start verse 62 to chapter 62, verse 9, in that verse, it doesn't say Salat al-Jum'ah. What it says instead is Lis Salat min Yawm al-Jum'ah. Yawm al-Jum'ah, fine, you find it in the Quran, but it's a day of congregation. So somebody is saying, babashuaib, I checked one of your lectures and you said the congregation Salat. He said, then I said, no, I don't have a lecture where I said the congregation. There's nothing called congregational Salat, because if I translate the same thing in Arabic, it becomes Salat al-Jum'ah. There's no such thing in the Quran. However, Salat can be done in a congregation. We saw even the Prophet, Quran chapter 4, verse 102, Surah An-Nisa, he led a Salat with a group. So that Salat was done in a congregation or with a congregation. But it doesn't make it the name congregational Salat. Remember that. Prophet Zakir established Salat alone in his mihrab, Quran chapter 3, verse 38 to 39. He was alone. You can do Salat alone. There's no problem with that. Musa alayhi salam was told to establish the Salat. He alone, when God was telling him, he was alone, God is telling him, establish the Salat for my remembrance. Good. So, Quran chapter 62, verse 9. For those watching directly from YouTube and Facebook, on the screen, it says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. It's talking to believers. Just like I said, the believers are the ones entitled to the Salat. Iza nudiya, when called to the what? To the Salat. When called to the Salat. So for those who understand Arabic, you can see it says lis Salat. And the li, after the li, there is the lam again, which signifies the definite article, which they call ma'rifa. A definite article which signifies something is there. The harf there, which signifies it's a definite article. So that particular Salat God has given to the believers, according to Quran chapter 4, verse 103, that same Salat, when you are called on the day of congregation. Now the congregation, somebody was telling me that this possibility has to be in the noon time. No, you don't guess. God has given you the book, which is a clarification for all things. Quran chapter 16, verse 89. So the book is to serve as a clarification for all things, no room for your assumption. However, some things are directly and some things are indirectly stated in the Quran. Remember that. So just because I say the Quran is a clarification for everything doesn't mean every time you check the Quran explicitly you see things. Sometimes you see things indirectly mentioned and sometimes directly. Now, so in that verse, Nudiya lis Salat, to the Salat, not Salat al-Jum'ah. Listen carefully. You will be a fool to put the word Salat al-Jum'ah there. It's God speaking, not you. Right? Remember, Quran chapter 10, verse 82. God says, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. He says, God will enforce the truth with his words, not my words, not Prophet Muhammad's words, not your so-called scholars' words, not Zakir Naik's words, not Imam Bukhari's words, his own words, God. Quran chapter 10, verse 82, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ. So he will enforce the truth with his words, not my words. Listen carefully. Even if you, the criminals, you don't like it. So you'll be a fool to say this Suratul Jum'ah, chapter 62, verse 9, to put the word Salatul Jum'ah there when there is no Salatul Jum'ah. Instead, it says Yawmil Jum'ah. There's a difference between Yawmil Jum'ah and Salatul Jum'ah. I repeat, who is a fool? Someone who lacks good judgment. I know somebody joining now, you say, hey, this guy is aggressive. Why is he insulting? I'm not insulting. I only describe people by what they do. That's what I do. Now, if you have a good judgment, you check the verse clearly. If you don't need glasses, right? If you check the verse, it doesn't say Izanudi at least Salatul Jum'ah. No, there's nothing called Salatul Jum'ah in the Quran. However, it says Lis Salat min Yawm al-Jum'ah, because he gave you, the believers, Salat that you have to do. So the Salat can be found in every day. So when it is time for that particular Salat, now the person was asking me, doesn't it seem that it is in the noon time? Let me help you. I'm based in the Western world, right? In the Western world, shopping malls even open till late night. Sometimes you have up to 9 p.m. in the night. Shopping malls are still open, but people are gathered in the shopping malls. Then somebody will say, it cannot be Fajr. Look, for people based in Ghana, we have something called the Year of Return. Entertainment places are open in Ghana till even dawn time, and people are out there in the bars, in the clubs, in the entertainment zones. Carnivals, they are still at the dawn time celebrating carnivals. I'm serious. And you are saying you cannot be called for Salat at that time? When you check the verse, does it say Salatul Jum'ah? No, it says Salat. The definite Salat God has given you at given times that you, the believers, know. The Fajr, the Isha, and the Wusta. You know that those times. So when you are called for the Salat, listen carefully. He didn't say when you are called for Salatul Jum'ah. There is nothing called Salatul Jum'ah in the Quran. Listen carefully. When you are called for that Salat God gave you, the believers, the Fajr, the Isha, the Wusta, that is the Salat we are talking about. So even if you are somewhere and there's a congregation going on, there's a sales going on, there is entertainment going on, listen carefully. That is why the believers at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, they don't want to leave their sales, their business, and their entertainment, because that is a possibility whenever there's a congregation or gathering. These are the things people usually do whenever there is a congregation or a gathering in any country you are. It is not a specific day. Listen carefully. That God has specified and said, this is the day, Friday. No. Listen carefully. So when you are called to the Salat, it could be Salatul Isha. When you are called at that time, somebody will say, by Isha, businesses are closed. Are you a fool? Do you understand the meaning of Isha? Isha means evening. A lot of countries, they still evening. It doesn't mean sun has set. It is now sun going to set. People are still doing their businesses. Look, even in the night, we have people who have their lamps and still selling. I'm serious. Do you watch ancient movies? Somebody will say, at the time of the Prophet, it was that. Do you want ancient movies? Do you want the archaic movies? Don't you see they do carnivals and parties in the night? Those Asian type of movies, the Roman type of movies, the Greek type of movies, those Asian movies. Have you watched them before? Even in the night, they have events going on. And they have the candles, they have the whatever you have, the lamps, they have it. What God mentioned there is not about time. It's about a specific reference to help you during any time you happen to be somewhere and you're called for the Salat, and you know you're doing sale, or you have business going on, or you have entertainment going on, and you are called, invited to come and do the Salat. Leave whatever you are doing and go for the Salat. That is the context of the discussion in Surah Al-Jum'ah. So what happened? The reason why I read all the context is to show you that when the Prophet was leading the Salat, standing for the Salat, they left him and went to their business and their entertainment, because that was what is going on that day. The entertainment and the business was ongoing. So instead of focusing on the Salat, they rather want to go to their entertainment. So it could be any time. Your Fajr Salat, you could be somewhere and there's entertainment going on, and you are invited for the Fajr Salat. You could be somewhere and Salatul Isha and there's another entertainment or carnival or amusement park going on. So leave those things and go for the Salat. You could be somewhere, somebody say, oh, there's no entertainment in the night or whatever. Look, every time there could be entertainment going on. There could be business going on. I'm serious. Anytime. So the question to the person, the simple answer is when he says, at what time is Salatul Jum'a? There's no time for Salatul Jum'a because Salatul Jum'a itself doesn't exist in the Quran. Do you understand? Pay attention to that. And when you go to Quran chapter 73, verse 20, Suratul Muzammil, chapter 73, verse 20, right? And I put a verse on the screen where God says, Inna rabbaka ya'lamu annaka takumu adna min thuluthay al-layli wa nithfahu wa thuluthahu wa ta'ifatu min allazina ma'ak. Then he says, Wallahu yukaddiru al-layla wa nahar alima an lam tusuhu fataba alaykum fakra'u ma tayassara min al-Qur'an. Alima an sayakunu minkum marda wa akharuna yadribuna fil ard yabtaguna min fadlillah. Do you see? Even in the night. وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله فاقرؤوا ما تيسر منه. Then he says وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوا عند الله. Then he says هو خيرا وأعظم أجرا واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم. What does the verse say? The verse says, indeed, your Lord is talking to the Prophet, alayhi salam. It's a second person singular, right? At that time. Indeed, your Lord knows that you get up less than 2/3 of the night, half of it, and 1/3 of it, and so do a faction of what? Of those with you. So the believers, a faction of them, not all of them, a faction of the believers with him. God has estimated the night and the day. We have estimation. For instance, for those based in the Western world, sometimes summertime, you don't see the night time, like it doesn't get dark, right? Sometimes you have a long day, sometimes you have a short night. It depends. Sometimes you have a long night, sometimes you have short day, right? So God has estimated the night and the day. He knows what? That you may never calculate it. So he has forgiven you, the believers, right? He has forgiven you, pardon you for that. Therefore, read what is easy of the Quran during the night, right? During the night. He has forgiven you for that. He knows that some of you will be sick. It's a possibility in the night somebody is sick, and others will be traveling in the land, seeking what? The way, seeking for the favor of God. Remember, in Suratul Jum'ah, chapter 62, verse 9, when you read verse 10, remember, he told you after the salat, فَانْتَشُرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ يَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Do you remember? He said that. Go and seek the favor of God, right? After the salat, in the Suratul Jum'ah. Assuming you think it is only in the daytime people can go and seek the favor of God. In chapter 73, verse 20, God is now telling you, during the night, God knows that some people are traveling during the night seeking for the favor of God. During the night. We have people who do night jobs. You don't know? Don't sleep at night. Get up, go around. You see people going for the night jobs. Yes. And especially the waitress and the waiter and those working in the clubs and, pubs and whatever have you. Yeah, they'll tell you. The way of God. So read what is easy from it of the Quran and what? And establish the salat and give the zakat and lend God a good loan. Now somebody is saying, how does my salat and my zakat become a loan to God? Because when you do any act of righteousness, good deeds, you get a reward for it. Right? Quran chapter 6, verse 160. Right? You do good, you get a blessing. You get about 10 rewards. You do a bad thing, you get equal to that. Right? So you are getting rewards for that. And remember, Quran chapter 11, verse 114, God says, Innal hasanat yuzhibana sayyi'at. He says your good deeds wipe out the bad deeds. So you do get rewards. And your reward accounted from the salat is a good deed. You do zakat, you give charity, an act of giving charity to the poor and the needy and the wayfarer and whatever, it's also a good deed. So those good deeds are being compiled with God. So it's like a loan. You are piling those good deeds up with God because you don't have the accounting here. Where is it? Do you count your blessings? You can't never count it. So God has taken that activity. He is counting your good deeds for you. So it's like a loan you have given to God, right? So now he has it and he's doubling it. So this is what God says. And lend God a good loan. And whatever you send forth, what? For your souls of what? Good. Because remember, your good deeds are being piled with God. You will find it with God. Then he says, which is better and greater in reward. Simple logic. When he says lend God a good loan, it doesn't mean you are giving God money. You'll be a fool to think you are giving God money. Go to Quran chapter 47, Surah to Muhammad, and read verse 36 to verse 38. God doesn't need your money. He is the one who gives you money. All he said is help your neighbors, help your poor people around you, help the orphans, and then come and take double. So who is helping who? Okay. You tell me, babashuaib, I want you to take 10 euro, give to any poor person around your community, and come and take 1,000 euro from me. Now, who is helping who? Is it not you rather helping me? Because if you tell me right now, you call me, you say, babashuaib, I want you to take 10 euro, give it to any poor person in your community, and I do that. Then later on, you send me 1,000 euro. Who is doing who a favor? You are rather doing me a favor. So God is doing you a favor when he says, lend God a good loan. It doesn't mean you are taking your money and say, God, where's your hand? Let me see. Take. I give you 100 euro. Take. No, it's not God you're giving. When you help people in need, you help poor people. Because God asked you to do that, it means it is God you gave it to, but you are helping other people. Then he will double the blessings. That's how good deeds work. Understand this logic. Then he says, you will find it a greater in reward and seek the forgiveness of God. Indeed, God is forgiving and merciful, which we have to do. You seek the forgiveness of God. Yes, to err is human. Yeah, it's normal. To err is human. Sometimes we even sin against people and we don't know we did a sin. I'm serious. Sometimes you can get up in life, somebody's mad at you. You don't know what you did, but you actually offended somebody. But you don't know you actually offended. So now imagine God. You've offended God in several ways, but you don't know because he has stipulated and put down laws and rules and regulations for you to abide. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you don't abide by them. So you have to seek forgiveness because you don't know what you did. Sometimes you have made a mistake. So in Quran chapter 2, verse 286, we tell God, Rabbana la tu'akhizna in nasina aw akhtana. Rabbana, God, do not take us away, like taking your soul away. Do not take us. Rabbana la tu'akhizna in nasina, if we forget, aw akhtana, or what? We make mistakes. Don't take away our souls. You have to consider us. You have to tell God that. You understand? So now that brings to the conclusion the question I was asked concerning Salatul Jumua. So simple in a nutshell. If you are intellectually inclined, please listen. There is nowhere Quran says Salatul Jum'a. It will take only a scholar to fabricate and concoct meanings or interpolate things which are not stipulated in the Quran. I'm only here to help you what is explicit and what is clearly stated in the Quran. So listen to logic and don't fool yourselves. Thank you. So now let's go to the next question. I'm not reading the comments for now, but thank you all for coming. Hey, Baba said, Nagan Salam. Nara Power, I see you. Salis Jimmy, I see you. Sandu Ju, I see you. Thank you for coming. Ashraf Adams, I see you. Kamil Usman, Amin Lion Naganka, thank you. Hussein Zangatali says, very nice explanation. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sister Natalia, I see you. Salam. Yeah, you continue watching later. I know. Don't worry. Yes, Abdul Rashid Banzi. Yes, exactly. As you said, they remove something and put something there in order to get something there, which it doesn't work like that, right? Thank you very much, Young Breezy. Thank you all for coming, and those on TikTok also. I haven't been reading your comments. Sorry, I apologize for that. Mark Gain, salam. You're welcome. Wadud C say Zaman, your question is not correct. However, I understand your question. You should ask me what religion do I belong to, right? If you say what religion are you, I'm not a religion. I happen to be a passenger in a relationship, but I'm not a relation. Anyways, I'm a submitter to God. I submit to God alone. So that is what I am. Let's move to the next question. Thank you. I was saying, I'll go to correct. The next question. Okay. Now, many a times when the Quran mentions sukara, or it mentions intoxicant or intoxication, some people think it is talking about alcohol or it is talking about wine. No, please don't do that, right? It's not anytime Quran mention sukara, that means you have actually drunk something or intoxicated with alcohol or no. And remember, it is not only alcohol which causes intoxication. So I'm going to help you. This is the problem here. It is God who will enforce the truth with his words. It is not about a dictionary, what a dictionary says, or what your scholar says, on what you think you know. Whatever academical level you have, put it aside. When it comes to God, it's not about the academics. It's about the truth and what God says. Simple, right? So pay attention to wisdom and take what will benefit you. Now, when we say intoxication, according to the Quran, when we say intoxication, many a times people think, okay, let me put it here. I'll share the screen. Unfortunately, for those on TikTok, you'll not be able to see the screen. However, like I said, if you watch on you watch the playback on YouTube or Facebook, then you see it, right? So I'm going to share the screen for those on Facebook and YouTube, and then you see it. Yeah. Salam, salam, Isa Shamo, I see you. You're welcome. Dale Cranton, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Oh, what did I do? What am I sharing? Oh, sorry. I stop this. I share the Microsoft. Yes. Intoxication in the Quran, it falls under excitement and elation beyond the bounds of sobriety. That's sobriety. Yeah, sobriety. And then we have being in slumber, right? In the Quran. So it is not only about alcohol intoxicant. Yes, you can find that also. But in some instances, this intoxication is only limited to the excitement and elation beyond the bounds of sobriety and then being in slumber, right? It's not always about alcohol, that somebody drank alcohol to be intoxicated. So I'm going to help you through with some verses and you get to understand what I mean, right? Now, and also in the Quran, what I want you to understand is, for example, if you take the word often in the Quran, when we say yatam or yatim, when we are talking about orphan, it doesn't always mean somebody who has lost their parents, right? Or, both parents or their parents or something. No, that's not usually when it means my orphan. So when we say orphan, based on the Quran, is someone or something who lacks support or care or what? Supervision. You understand? So in the Quran, many a times, God has made reference about the yatama or yatim, right? That you find several instances where people are saying, why does God call adult females as orphan, right? It gets to the point they lack the support, they lack the help, they lack the supervision. So someone who is a man with all their property and their wealth has to be in charge of them, to take care of them, right? But I'm not saying it doesn't mean somebody who lost their parents or something. No, it's also mean that, but it's not only limited to that. You have to understand how meanings work in the Quran as well. You have to clearly scrutinize the verses. Quran chapter 38 verse 29, God says, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakun liyadabbaru ayatihi wa liyatazakkara ulul albab. And let those of intelligence actually pay attention to that, right? So it is a book that you have to contemplate the verses, right? So don't just draw conclusions by taking dictionaries and then think, oh, this is the meaning. No. So sometimes when you do that, things will not be clear enough for you. So coming back to the word intoxication, it doesn't always mean based on alcohol that you have to be intoxicated. No. Sometimes through excitement, out of excitement, right? Out of excitement and elation beyond the bounds of sobriety. So I take this word here and I break it down for those who are only accustomed to the global English, and I can put it here. Yeah. So when we say sobriety, it comes from the word sober. And what other meaning can I give? Yeah, let's stick with this. So this sober, like lacking brightness or color, like dull. Somebody who's dull, like we understand. When somebody is under sobriety, it's like you'll be saying something, they are not paying attention, or they don't know what you're saying. Like, you understand? Dull. And these things happen even when you are about to sleep. Like you feel you are in slumber, right? You're watching TV and sometimes you don't know what is going on, and you just wake up and you're confused. You don't have to take alcohol to be in that state, right? And sometimes when you wake up from sleep, right, you wake up, all of a sudden you just wake up out of nothing. You're like, you are under that state of slumber. You understand? And when we say slumber here, we are talking about we say a natural and periodic state of rest during which consciousness of the world is suspended, right? When somebody's about to go to sleep or somebody is tired, very, very tired, exhausted, they can fall in the position of slumber. They are very tired. It's like they are about to sleep. They are not sleeping yet, but they are like, it's like another form of intoxication, right? Not under the influence of alcohol. And that is why sometimes when people buy drugs from the pharmacy, there are certain drugs they will tell you do not drive when you take such. It gives you a triangle, and then there's a caution that can also lead you to intoxication, because some of them do have alcohol in the drugs. But it's not only about alcohol. So I'll be giving you verses in the Quran to show you the form of intoxications God talk about, which has nothing to do with alcohol, right? So that you understand intoxication is not only limited. So when God was talking to the believers in chapter 4, verse 43, don't align it to alcohol and think, oh, he was talking about alcohol in that sense. No, remember. And also, usually a person can be out of conscious. Like, let's say a person falls down or has concussion, right? They might not know what is going on. Like, let's say I just fell down. I got up. Like, I've lost, the touch. I don't know what is going on. People have to now explain to you. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what is going on. People have to tell you. And also sometimes people fall under the influence of anesthesia. Like for people who go for the dentist or whatever, you are given that anesthesia. Sometimes you don't know what is going on. You're saying things, you're under the form of intoxication, even though you didn't drink alcohol or something. But I'm coming to that point to help understand that notion, right? Okay. So we go to Quran chapter 4, verse 43. Sorry. Oh, so chapter 4. Yeah. And I share the screen, then you see. I'll be coming to your question after this. Let me save the question. Somebody's asking a question. I save your question. Yeah, I'll be coming back to your question. So chapter 4, verse 43, right? Let's see the verse. And God says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. He's talking to the believers again. Listen, believers. Listen carefully. Believers. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. La takrabu salata. The salat, that same salat we talked about earlier on. The salat, the definite article. Do not approach the salat. He's telling the believers. Wa antum sukara. While you are intoxicated. Right? Then he says, Hatta ta'lamu ma taqulun. So this is the part I want you to understand. So just because when people see sukara and then they know the root word is sakara, and then all of a sudden they just assume it's talking about alcohol, you know, right? Now, if you check the context, when he's talking to the believers, he says, oh, you who believe, do not approach the salat while you are intoxicated. Then he brought the word hatta ta'lamu ma taqulun. So you do not need to approach the salat while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying. Now, this intoxication here, when you are intoxicated here, doesn't necessarily mean they are in the influence of alcohol. That's not the point here. You can decide to put the influence of alcohol there and say, oh, maybe they are drunk. Yeah, you can decide to put it there. But that is not only limited to that point. And I'm going to give that instance, the breakdown, right? So now I take you to the example. If you go to Quran chapter 15, verse 15. In chapter 15, verse 15, the disbelievers, when you read from verse 14, I'm going to show you the example. When you read from verse 14, chapter 15, verse 14, it says, even if we open a gate for them from the heaven, and they continue therein ascending, listen, ascending. So God is giving a metaphor. And when people are ascending into the heavens, he's going to give you the metaphor of what is the example. Then verse 15 says, they will say, our eyesight has been intoxicated. So the word used in Arabic, laqalu innama sukkirat, right? Sukkirat. You see the root word there, sakara. So they will say our eyesight has been what? Absaruna, our vision, the eyesight has been what? Intoxicated. So does that mean the eyes also drink alcohol? Hello? Does that mean because they said our eyesight has been intoxicated, does that mean the eyesight actually drank alcohol? No, right? Okay. That in that instance is become like a slumber. Do you understand? Like sober. So in that instance, because you become confused, imagine God is giving the metaphor of even if we opened a gate for them from the heaven and they continue then therein, meaning they are going up in the heavens, ascending, right? They, the disbelievers, will say, our eyesight has only been intoxicated. And then they will say what? In fact, we are a people bewitched. You understand? So definition of the eyesight being intoxicated, they are saying to be bewitched, because when you are bewitched, your eyes, it's just like when you're watching a magician and he does this and he doesn't have anything in the hand, and all of a sudden he does this, and then there's a bed. You do this and you're watching, you're like, can you do that again? Do that again. You're watching, you're like, no, I don't believe this. Please do this again. So he does it again, you're like, no, this is a dream. Now that's how it feels. That's the notion of the eyes being intoxicated. It's like you're bewitched. And just like God explained the sorcery of the people who faced Musa alayhi salam. They just casted their ropes and some things, and then it became like snake for people to see. Even Musa saw it and he was about to get scared. Right? And this is what magicians usually do. They bewitched you. They bewitch you, the one watching. And that's why they always say, watch, watch. Look here. Look at my hands. Look, look, look. Then he does it. So they bewitched you, the one watching. So now we see the first instance. Chapter 15, verse 14 to verse 15 it has nothing to do with alcohol there. Do you see? Then again, we go to Quran chapter 15, the same chapter, verse 72. Right? Verse 72 here. He, Lord, said, verse 71, he, Lord, said, these are my daughters if you react. Then by your life, Lot was telling them, by your life, indeed, by your life, like the angels were telling Lot, by your life, you Lot, indeed, they were in their intoxication straying. So the blast seized them by sunrise, right? Now, if you check the context of the verse, right, coming down, even though it mentioned they are in their what? The sakratihim. Now, I'll take you to where you see the sakratil maut. This sakrati doesn't actually mean you have drunk alcohol. But because you are intoxicated with something, like you are out of your conscious, the sober, the slumber you have out of your conscious, that can put you in that state without actually taking alcohol. Because what the people of Lot were doing is they were paying attention to the new visitors he got. So even though Lot have daughters, he has women, he has his daughters, he was telling them, these are my daughters. You should prefer women instead of preferring these two men who came to me as guests. So now he is now being told, by your life, you, Lot, indeed, they were in their intoxication, the sakratihim, straying. So God never said they took intoxicants, or did he say they drank alcohol? It doesn't say that in that verse. They are in their intoxication. It is a form of sober or slumber a person is in when they are confused. You get the point? Okay. I'm just showing you the verses where it has nothing to do with alcohol or drinking something. No. I'm coming to the point where it will be clearer to you. So now I take you to Quran chapter 22, verse 2. Now, this is the interesting part. On the day of judgment, Quran chapter 22, verse 2, the day you see it, you see what? If you start from verse 1, it says, "O you mankind, reference your Lord. Indeed, the earthquake of the hour is a terrible thing." The earthquake of that hour is a terrible thing. So God says, the day you see it, then he says what? Every foster mother will be stunned from what they nurture. They will be stunned from the baby they have. Every foster mother, when they are, let's say they are feeding and that earthquake is happening, they can even throw their child away to run for safety. And every pregnant being will lose its pregnancy. And you will see the people intoxicated, sukara, on that day. You will see the people intoxicated while they are not intoxicated. Do you see the statement here? You will see the people intoxicated while they are not intoxicated, is to show you that whilst they are not intoxicated in terms of if you are thinking only alcohol intoxicates people, people can be intoxicated without actually being intoxicated in the form of alcohol. Because it's the act of sober confusion in the head when people are confused. And that's why when somebody is sleeping, you wake him up, the first thing he gets up, you say, "Let's go to America." He'll be looking at, what did you say? You say, "The house is burning." What? Like this confusion in the head. So what happens on that particular day, the hour, the earthquake, God is defining the intensity of that day, how people will envision and see what is happening. Because of that, you will see them like they are intoxicated while they are not intoxicated. Then God says, but the punishment of God is severe on that day. And that is why you see people, they are intoxicated, but they are not intoxicated. So God used the word sukara here. Do you see? Okay. Then the last but not the least, we go to chapter 50, verse 19. Chapter 50, verse 19, God says, وَجَاءَتُ sakratul maut, right? بِالْحَقِّ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنْتَ مِنْهُ تَهِيدٌ. So God says, and the intoxication of death will come in truth. That is what you have been swerving from. That's why when somebody is on his madaji, the deathbed, you can see they are intoxicated. They are confused. They are saying things, and you, the one alive, you're watching. You don't understand what the person is trying to say. It's an intoxication of death. And this intoxication, the sakratu, even if somebody is sleeping or just wake up from sleep, they are in that form of the intoxication, the sakara. That's the slumber, the sober. Yes. It doesn't necessarily mean you've taken alcohol. No. So when God was speaking to the believers in Quran chapter 4, verse 43, because there's Salatul Fajr and there's Salatul Wusta, you might get up in the night, you're trying to do Salatul Wusta. That's why in Quran chapter 73, verse 7, he says, Inna na'ashiyatal layli hiya ashaddu watwan wa aqwa mukila. Inna na'ashiyatal layli. Getting up at the night is very difficult because maybe you are sleeping and you have to get up to do Salatul Wusta in the night, middle of the night. So you might be under, the sakara. And that is why when you wake up somebody at the time of Fajr, you say, hey, get up to pray or get up for this. They get up, they are like, what? What did you say? And they are sleeping. So leave them to sleep. So that's why God tells the believers, do not approach the salat while you are intoxicated until you know what you're saying. So when somebody is sound-minded, yes, they can get up and do the salat. When somebody is sleeping, leave them to sleep. If they actually wanted to get up, they will have gotten up. Unless if they tell you, hey, when you get up, wake me up. And even regardless of that, you get up and you are waking somebody up, they cannot wake up. You just say, hey, babashuaib, wake up. Wake up. What is it? Then go back to sleep. You understand? So he's telling the believers, do not approach the salat whilst you are intoxicated until you know what you're saying, because that deprives you from knowing what you're saying. Right? Now, so it's the word sakara is not only limited to actually drinking alcohol or something, not that to be intoxicated in the form of alcohol alone. And that doesn't befit the believers. If you go to Quran chapter 5, verse 90 to 91, I'm going to show you an example. Quran chapter 5, verse 90 to 91. Oh, sorry. Quran chapter 5, verse 90. Then we will go to 91 to understand. God is talking to the believers again. He says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, innamal khamr. He says, indeed, al-khamr is talking about wine. Not directly alcohol, wine. Of course, the wine, we have different types. We have non-alcoholic wine. Yes. But this verse is talking about wine. If you go to Quran chapter 12, Surah to Yusuf, it even talk about Joseph when he explained the dreams the two prisoners had. One of them says he's squeezing wine. And Joseph never told him that wine is haram. In general, wine itself is not. But out of wine, we have the one which can intoxicate you, which is the bad one. Then we have one which is non-alcoholic, right? Then so two young men entered the prison with him. That is Joseph, Quran chapter 12, verse 36. One of them what? One of them said, indeed, I have seen myself squeezing wine, hamra. Then if you go to verse 41, it says, oh, my prison mate, as for one of you will then give his master a drink of wine, right? Now, Because it's not all wines that are bad. And the word khamr is not directly translated as alcohol. Listen carefully. And I will help you on that to understand that point. We have different types of wine. babashuaib, I drink wine, not alcohol. I drink wine. But which wine we are talking about? We have rice wine, we have rice vinegar, we have apple cider. You understand? We have cider, apple cider vinegar, all these things you can use. Yeah. But there are difference in that with alcohol itself. Even though we can have a wine which is alcoholic, and that is what I'm going to talk about in Quran chapter 5 verse 90. So you, the believer, should know the difference, that there's a wine which is for people, sound people to drink, and then there's a wine which is from the act of the devil. The devil's one is to intoxicate you. And that is the one God asks the believers to avoid it. Listen carefully, and I'm going to show you from the verses. You, the believer, avoid the ones which can intoxicate you. Know the difference. There is a wine which is non-alcoholic, right? This is me, babashuaib. I drink wine. This is wine. I buy wine from the shop, right? This is wine, but it is alcohol free. I don't know how to show you. It's too clear enough. Let me see. It says on this up here, alcohol free, but they have the same version. Yeah, the same version with alcohol in them. I don't buy such. I buy the same one without the alcohol free, but they are made the same way. But however, this is fermented. The other one is fermented in order to intoxicate you. Do you get the point? This is alcohol free. It's actually written there. I drink wine. So God doesn't say wine is haram. If it was haram, Yusuf alayhi salam will have told the prisoner, don't do that job, or don't serve the king, your master, wine, because it's haram. He never said that. So wine in general is not haram. But however, I will take you to Quran chapter 2 verse 219, why God says there is a great sin in them and benefits. There are two different instances you need to understand. Okay, now let's address Quran chapter 5 verse 19. So God says, oh, you who believe, innamal khamru, this wine. Then he says, well, maisir, that is the game of chance. It can be gambling, it can be game of chance, it can be lotto, it can be lottery, all categorized. Then he says, well, ansab. And when we say ansab, we are talking about idols. Idols, the effigies people make, idols, and they worship them, idols. And then we have what? Well, Aslam. So when you say Aslam, we are talking about divination arrows. Divination, when people have the act of making things like a sorcery to calculate, and some people even have spades like cards, and then they will say, I'll do this and I can know which one is this, and then all these things, they are divination arrows, right? So divination arrows, then God says, are only, listen carefully, when the word is used in the Quran, innama is to signify the soliness, onlyness of particular subject, the loneliness of something. So innama is to signify only filled from the work of what? The devil. So avoid such. You, the believer, God is telling you, avoid such so that you may succeed. Now, the reason why he's telling you to avoid such, if you know the difference on the wine which the devil makes, because based on the one the devil, and from the hand of the devil, you know it is the one which will intoxicate you, whilst the one from the godly side is not to intoxicate you. And that is why believers will even drink wine in paradise. Quran chapter 47 verse 15. You drink wine, khamr, will be drunk in paradise. It is not the one from the handwork of the devil. The handwork of the devil is to intoxicate you. And I'm giving you the evidence. You see it when I end. So now God is telling you, the believers, remember the verse is talking to a believer. So avoid such. So you have to avoid the wine. Which type of wine? And I'll show you. Gambling, you have to avoid such. Which type of gambling? I will show you. Idols, which type of idols? I will show you. Somebody will say, which type of idols? Are there any other idols I can use? I can have a normal statue, but it's not my idol. I can have it, a statue. To have a statue, it's not haram. But that same statue, somebody's using it as an idol. So that you have to avoid, right? And the divination arrows, right? Also, you have to avoid such from the work of the devil. So the one coming from the work of the handwork of the devil, you the believer, you are supposed to avoid it. So listen carefully. The one coming from the handwork of the devil, that is, you have to avoid such. Then verse 91. Then God says, Innama yuridu shaitan. So from the ones coming from the hand of the devil, handwork of the devil, the intention of the devil is the devil only intends to afflict antagonism and hatred between you through the wine and what? And the gambling. So it mentioned both wine and gambling. That is why when you go to every casino, they sell this wine, and then they do gambling at the same time. Every casino you go, because the alcoholic beverage goes with the gambling. You understand? Because the more you are intoxicated from drinking the alcoholic wine, that is when you are more into the gambling, and then your money is gone. And that is why Las Vegas, casino, whatever they have all over, you see them selling the alcoholic wine, right? Okay. So through that, what the devil is trying to do is through the wine and the gambling, both of them, and repel you from the remembrance of God. Because when you are also intoxicated by the alcoholic drink, you go away from the remembrance of God. You are not going to be there. Then he says, and from the what? The salat. So will you refrain? God is asking the question. Will you refrain? If you don't want to refrain, that's up to you. Do you understand? If you don't want to refrain, that's up to you. So it's a condition God is giving you. Will you refrain? Because you, the believer, must know the difference between the handwork of the devil and the one not from the devil. If I go to buy wine and I know this is non-alcoholic, you can see it is wine, but it doesn't have alcohol. So understand the word khamr. We have khamr, which doesn't have alcohol. The alcohol has been filtered out of it, so it's alcohol free. Then we have wine, which contains alcohol. It's not all the wines that contain alcohol in them, right? So the word khamr, if you translate it literally as alcohol, you will be doing injustice to the verses, because Quran chapter 47 verse 50, when God says we will drink wine, he's not intentionally telling you we'll drink alcohol in paradise. Understand the logic here. Okay. So now we go to Quran chapter 2, verse 219, right? Quran chapter 2, verse 219. They ask you about the wine and gambling. Then God says, say, you the messenger, tell them, there is great sin. God didn't only tell the messenger to say there is a sin, because he's trying to differentiate, to show you two categories, that there's a problem. There is great sin in them, both the wine and the gambling. There is benefits also in the sin, as well as benefits for the what? For mankind. But their sin is greater. So I have to be careful. Something which contains a lot of sin is dangerous for you to approach. Remember this. Something which contains a lot of sin, uncountable, is dangerous for you to approach. I know some people will be saying, oh, nowhere does God say alcohol is haram. Well, it doesn't mention alcohol there. It may only mention wine. But wine, we have different types of wine. We have wine that doesn't get you intoxicated, and then we have wine which gets you intoxicated. The one which gets you intoxicated will lead you to sin. And that comes from the amali shaitan, handwork of the devil. God is telling you, the believer, avoid such. Do you understand the point? The one which can get you intoxicated, God says, avoid such. If you are a believer, avoid it. And he says, will you refrain? So if you are a believer, you what? You refrain. Because he says there is a great sin in it. A word to a wise is enough. as well as benefits for mankind. He didn't say for the believers, for mankind. But their sin is greater than their what? Benefit. Then he says, and yeah, so the hammer and then the gambling. He told you the sin is greater than the benefit. The benefit is little compared to the sin. The sin has a major part. And that is why you see everywhere, casinos, everywhere, kind of entertainments, they like to sell alcohol. And whenever there's alcoholic drink, what do you think happens? A lot of trouble, a lot of problem, a lot of fighting, a lot of antagonism, hatred, whatever have you. That is what happens, right? So for people who are thinking, why did God say we would drink wine in the paradise? He says the example of the garden which has been promised to the what? To the pious is therein are rivers of uncontaminated what? Water. Rivers of milk whose taste does not change. Rivers of what? Hammer, wine. Right? I can have a wine which is alcohol free. But if I have a drink and you call it alcohol, it can't be alcohol free again. If the drink itself is alcoholic or alcohol, you can't call it alcohol free again. But if you have wine, you can call it alcohol free. Do you see the logic there? We will drink wine in the paradise, but not alcoholic wine. Because that alcoholic is to get you intoxicated and it will lead you to evil. Do you see the point? And that is why when the rapists, people who rape people, they try to intoxicate you by giving you something in your drink to intoxicate you. And then they end up sleeping. If you're a woman, they sleep with you. If you're a man, they rape you. And then you wake up the next morning, you don't know what happened. So you, the believer, choose wisely. God says, avoid the one which comes from the handwork of the devil, because the handwork of the devil is to actually intoxicate you and lead you to fight and cause the enmity. When somebody is actually drunk, alcoholic drunk, and he loses gambling, do you know what happens? He might kill somebody under the influence of alcohol. So beware. Now, somebody will mention Quran chapter 16, verse 67. Right? Now, remember, the alcoholic, the wine which can actually intoxicate you, God told the believers to avoid such. In Quran chapter 5, verse 90 to 91, he told you, the believers, to refrain, avoid those kind of wines that can intoxicate you, right? So you have to avoid that. Chapter 16, verse 67, and from the fruits of date palms and grapes, you take intoxicants therefrom, and good sustenance. Indeed, there is a sign in that for people who what? Who reason. Now, the reason why God mentioned word sakaran, intoxicant here, I put a word here. I'm going to share it on the screen. Yeah, let me share that. Yeah, thank you very much, Salis. Thank you. Intoxicant, right? Intoxicant. When we say intoxicant, a liquor or a brew containing alcohol as the active agent. It contains alcohol as the active agent. Now, for instance, we go to the pharmacy to buy medicine. A lot of the medicines we take has a trace of alcohol inside. The perfumes we are using contains alcohol. The body creams you use contains alcohol, right? And a lot of things we consume or we use contains alcohol in them. Right? You never paid attention, right? Okay. Directly in the Quran, God never say alcohol is haram. No. You never find a word where God says alcohol is haram, because we have benefits also from that. Right? So it's mentioned in Quran. Sorry, let me finish the explanation here. The intoxicant, the other meaning is what? A drug that can produce a state of intoxication. That is also classified as the intoxicant. Now, going back, I share the screen. To the verse I was talking about. God says, and from the fruits of date palms and grapes, right? Grapes, you what? You take intoxicant therefrom and good sustenance. Indeed, there is a sign in that for people who reason. So just because we get intoxicants from the fruits God has given us, and then we also have good sustenance from the fruits. Listen to the categorization. If you get intoxicant, this intoxicant, we have other benefits for it. We can use it for a drug. We can use it for a perfume. We can use it for body cream. We can use it for your soap. You can use it. There are other benefits for it. That's an intoxicant here. Then there is a good sustenance, meaning we can use it for other things, but it's talking about the fruits, not the intoxicant. The intoxicant, we take intoxicant from the fruits and then make the alcohol to find the alcohol, right? So this alcoholic thing, this intoxicant, can be used for other things. We use it for body cream. God never said the intoxicant itself is haram, no. But however, the cautioning of what I was doing from my lecture is to show you that you, the believer, you should know the difference between when we say hammer, wine. Wine, there are different types of wine. But when we say intoxicant as sakaran is talking about the alcohol we put in the things we use for our own benefits, meaning medicine, our drug, we have alcohol in our perfume, you spray. It's okay to use that for all that. Do you see the point? So understand things mentioned in the Quran directly and indirectly. Some things are mentioned indirectly, but they are there. Just because it's not mentioned directly doesn't mean, for instance, last time I did a program concerning the LGBT, right? The LGBT, I spoke about it. Directly, that you can never find a verse directly where God says being homosexual or gay or lesbian is haram. You never find it. Anybody say if there is a verse like that, I put the challenge. Find me and show me directly where God says directly that if you are a lesbian or a gay is haram. No. But indirectly, yes, it's forbidden. Indirectly, listen carefully. Indirectly is forbidden. And I did the lecture last time. For those who watch my previous lecture, you can find it on my YouTube channel. Indirectly, because why? It can be categorized under what? Fahisha or al-fasha. It is an immorality and it is what? Obscenity. It can be classified there. So the moment it comes as an umbrella, under the umbrella, that can be classified indirectly as haram, but it is not directly stated as haram. So listen carefully. There are ways to study the Quran, and please don't draw conclusions just yet, just because somebody says this is not haram, this is not haram, so you just think, oh, yeah, this is this. No. Now, the last verse I'm going to quote concerning this coming back. Let me see what I've missing before I continue, right? Salam, Layola, Sali is now good. Salam says, well explained. That is not what happens. Okay. Isa Watkins, there are medicines that contain alcohol in it. Just clear this up too, as listeners might question you on that. Yes, I just did. I just cleared that up. Salam. Gladys Wilson, nice, bro. Thank you. Baba City, thank you. Kam K says salam. Yeah, salam. Yusuf Salu says, brother, please, I read Quran for guidance, even though I don't understand Arabic. Help me, please. Yes, that's why I'm helping people here. Yeah, I understand you. Please, is it compulsory to observe prayers in congregation, or one can choose to observe it alone? Either ways, there's no problem. You can do it alone, you can do it in a congregation with a group. No problem with that, right? So far as it's not a mushrik salat. Kabiru Haruna says salam, salam. Let me see the questions I've tagged. I'll be coming to those on TikTok, but let me see the questions I've tagged. Abdul Rashid M. Bansi says, what Quran says about the big bang? Abdul Rashid, do you mean big bang? Big bang. Or what are you trying to say? Let me get you all right. If I'm getting you right, let me take you to Quran. If you are talking about the big bang, as the scientists explain, let's go back to that, right? I take you to Quran chapter 21, verse 30. I can share a screen. Quran chapter 21, verse 30, right? Right, 21, Suratul Anbiya. He says, or have those who disbelieve not considered that the heavens and the earth were patched up? When we say ratkan, to be patched up together like this. Patched up, and we tore them apart and made every living thing from water. Will they then not believe? So this is the big bang there, right? The scientists just told you the heaven and earth tore asunder, right? You know, so big bang. You find it in Quran chapter 21, verse 30, right? And then the next question is, Mbema says, please, is it compulsory to observe? Okay, I've already answered this. Yeah, I've already answered it. Yeah. Salam, Loyola Joseph Rashida, please listen. Like I keep saying, if you are listening to me, listen to me carefully. Don't twist my words. I said there is no single verse in the Quran which directly says being a gay is haram or being a lesbian is haram. Stop quoting to me Suratul Mumin. It doesn't say that there, please. I'm saying directly. Then I said indirectly, yes, it says. But directly, you will never find a verse. Simple. This is the English I'm speaking. Please, don't rush to conclusions. Look, I'm not stupid to sit online here and see me just blabbing my mouth. I know what I'm saying, right? So listen carefully. Don't just listen for the sake of argument and you want to just type something, please. When I'm talking, that's why I use the word listen carefully. I use it multiple times because I know there are different type of listeners. People will just listen to you for the sake of argument. People will listen to you. Others will listen to you because they want to learn. Yes. So if you're here to learn, listen to my statement very carefully. I'm not saying the Quran doesn't forbid it, but it forbids it indirectly, not directly. Indirectly. Okay, let me go on TikTok. Somebody is asking, is it Lacasera? Lacasera on TikTok says, please, is 5 daily prayers in the Quran? No, it is not. There's nothing like 5 daily prayers or 5 salats in the Quran. No. If anybody is watching and they say it is, I'm available online. Anyway, let me put my phone number here. My phone number for people who are willing to call on my WhatsApp line. That is the WhatsApp line below the page. For those on TikTok, TikTok doesn't allow me to put my phone number there. It is against their community rules. I cannot do that. So, but however, those on TikTok, if you're willing to ask a question, you can type, I will answer you. Yeah, salam, Lami, you're welcome. So for those who don't know about my YouTube channel also, you can find me Bush2G9 on my YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe. I put all my updates and lectures there. You can watch I have over 200 videos where you can benefit and watch a lot of my lectures, right? So kindly go to the YouTube if you want to learn more. But however, this is the correctional officer's number. If you want to call and ask your question, you can also call and ask question concerning. And I would love for people to ask questions pertaining to what I've spoken about earlier, so that I'll be clear enough that people have understood what I meant. And please, in case of misquotation or quoting what I say, my problem is when people misunderstand what I represent, right? If you misquote my statements, I'm not happy about that, right? I'd like you to put the things I say into perspective first before you want to draw your conclusions or ask your questions. Then you can do, right? So Aliyu Musa says, please, are you Quraniyun? No, I cannot be Quraniyun. What is that? What is that? Quraniyun, what is that? A human being, me, what is that? Is it an animal or what? I don't know what we are talking about. I'm not Quraniyun. If God can do anything, why can't he make Jesus his son? Because Jesus is a human being and he's his servant. So he cannot make him his son. It's not befitting for God to have just one son. He is giving you sons and daughters, and he has one son. Is it not an insult? Before I can, if I give you money, don't I have to have a lot of money before I give you money? Like to give you money? So you are insulting God to say he has one son, only begotten son. It's an insult. Because how come you have 5 kids, 10 kids, and you are telling me God has the same human being as a kid? One. It doesn't make sense. Logically incorrect. If God can do anything, yes, he wouldn't do that low thing. God will actually do things that elevate him, not things that suppress him down, right? So God wouldn't give you 10 children and you have one son, and you are telling me the son also came to die again for you. How? Logically incorrect. I'll suggest this question. You go to timeanddate.com, timeanddate.com. That you can convert the time and you know the time of sunrise and sunset. That will help you, right? I'm not in Ghana right now to be able to tell you what time will be okay. But if I assume perfectly, I think if you get up at dawn from 5 o'clock at dawn in Ghana, that is Salatul Fajr. Salatul Isha can be probably before 6 o'clock. Yes, somewhere before 6 o'clock, Salatul Isha. Yes, that's good. Okay, so far there's no question on Facebook, YouTube. Let me see. Yeah, you are telling me according to what Google tells you, right? If you Google is telling you according to them, that's the definition of wine. And you don't only have one meaning for one word, right? Every word have multiple meanings, right? If you take a word, it has multiple meanings. You have to understand from which perspective you are giving. If somebody is giving you a definition from Oxford Dictionary, and somebody has Macmillan, and somebody has Google, and somebody has World Web, they will not all give you direct specified definitions. Definitions can vary, right? So I'm giving you the understanding from the Quranic perspective so that you know how God is defining things for us, not speaking from Google, right? So Dale Creighton says, I assume medicinal cannabis comes under the same explanation of intoxicants and the sin being greater than the benefit, as sadly there are so many Muslims in England advocating its use as halal. Yeah, it will come under the same issue because we have seen people who actually abuse weed to the extent that they do stupid things, and it can even get them crazy, right? Everything has a limit that can be, used for, but I don't recommend such. Loyola says, after Salat, can we use tasbih? When we say tasbih, it's about glorification. People use that rosary. Do you know that rosary? I show you. For those based in Africa, I think the Middle East, and so some people call this tasbih or tasbah, right? When we say tasbih, we are talking about glorification. So people use this to glorify God by mentioning, they count it and they are counting and then, keep themselves busy glorifying God, like saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Kabir. Glorification. You can use that. It's no problem, right? This is actually just to help people, keep up busy, because if you don't have anything in your hand, you can forget, and then you are just. But if this is in your hand, you actually focus and do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nowhere did Quran says it's haram. No, it's not haram. You can do it. Nothing wrong with this. Yeah, for those on TikTok asking question, let me see. Aliyu says, please, are you a Sunni? No, I'm not. What do you think about indirectly forbidding? Somebody says, what do you think about indirectly forbidding? The reason why I'm saying things are directly or indirectly. Indirectly means you need to actually thoroughly study the Quran to see it. Some things are just superficial, face value. You can just see it straight. Some things are there, but you have to really study the Quran to see it. For instance, I give an example. There is no single verse in the Quran where God says he gave Musa alayhi salam the Torah. But when you see Muslims speaking every day, they will say Musa was given the Torah, Musa was given the Torah, Musa was given Torah. I put the challenge. Anyone watching me right now, if you can give me one single verse where God says he gave Musa alayhi salam the Torah, wallahi lazim, ask me anything you want, I'll give it to you. Apart from that, if anyone watching me right now, if you can give me one single verse where God says Adam and Eve, or Adam and his wife, were based in the Garden of Eden, Jannat and Aden, wallahi, ask me whatever you want, I'll give it to you. If you can prove to me directly where he says that, it doesn't. But however, the misconception people usually have, because they have been indoctrinated from other dogmas, they think automatically this is there, this is there, this is there. It's not there. But however, indirectly, talking about Musa alayhi salam, indirectly, yes, he was given the Torah. Indirectly, not directly. Directly, you never find a verse where God says he gave him the Torah. But indirectly, he was given. How do you know that? When you go to Quran chapter 5, verse 44, the children of Israel were given the Torah. The children of Israel. So, simple question. Musa alayhi salam, was he part of the children of Israel? The answer is yes. So automatically, he should have it too. Do you see the logic there? But directly, you can never point me a verse in the Quran where God says Musa was given the Torah. But indirectly, yes, he was given. So this is how to understand how the Quran has been conducted in certain instances. It will take you to study. It will take you to have knowledge to understand this aspect. So some things are not just superficial or face value. You just say, okay, this is where does the Quran say this is haram? It doesn't have to tell you directly haram. You need to study it to understand the eloquence of the grammatical aspect of the Quran before you know it has actually addressed that topic. Mumadi Pedro says, he says, yes, indeed, you know what you are saying. You are not in the state of Sukara, of course. If you know what you're saying, you are never in the state of Sukara. We need to understand how wine are produced. Yes, wine, yes, we need to understand. Wine are produced, some wines, they have the alcohol taken out of them. Whilst some wines, they leave the alcohol. That's why alcohols in, I don't know about the Africa, but in the Western world, they write the percentages of the alcohol trace you can find in them. Sometimes they write 2%, 5%, 0.5, 4%, and it goes up. So they know how to filter the alcohol out of it. When you say wine, wine doesn't necessarily mean just because we say wine, it has to be alcoholic. That is the definition of some basic dictionaries, what they'll tell you. They'll say alcoholic drink, but it's not always as such. let me help you here. I'm going to put one of the meanings here, wine. I'm going to put World Web just to give you the clue. Now I'm going to give you the meaning according to a dictionary. Brother Daniel Abbas, I'm going to help you on this so that you know how dictionaries work, right? They are perspectives, and according to World Web. Now listen how they define this. World Web says wine, a dark purplish red color, the color of red wine, right? That is the first meaning. So this first meaning doesn't mention anything alcoholic there. It says a dark purplish red color, the color of red wine. That is also wine, right? So the color, that's why we have wine color. But we can have wine which has nothing to do with alcohol. It's just about perspective and defining something, giving it a definition, right? So, but it doesn't necessarily make it alcoholic. That's why we even have wine color. Somebody will say, I need a wine color shirt. So you give it the name wine. Then again, because of the color of it. Then again, the next meaning, you can say alcoholic drink made by fermenting juice, usually grape juice, right? Grape juice. Now, this same process, when they make it, they can filter the alcohol out of it to have 0% alcohol. It still makes it the wine. It's still the wine because the color is there, everything is there, but it doesn't make you intoxicated, and it is still wine. Do you see my point? So it doesn't necessarily mean just because the dictionary focus on one aspect and tell you this, and that means you stay with that. No, dictionaries have derivatives where they are deriving their meanings from. So you need to understand the source of how they came out with that meaning. That's why different dictionaries has different meanings. You need to understand that. Yeah, Baba said, I see it. I have 10 minutes more to go. Please, if you are coming up with a question, don't come with a long question that will distract me. Are there any prayers or fast we should observe when you are experiencing difficulties in order to make things easier for you? I'll recommend such. Yes, I'll recommend you do that. It helps. I've done it. It helped me. So you can do some special prayers for yourself to God. You can do some fasting. Yes, it helps. Yes, babashuaib, need you know what you're saying. Okay, thank you very much. Kasim Sad says what? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Brother, why do people get mad when you tell them you believe in Quran alone? Because they hate the truth. Yeah, Quran is the truth. Quran chapter 10 verse 32. فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا ضَلَالٌ. What is there after the truth if not error? So because you say you believe in the Quran, they hate you for this, right? So if you say you want to follow the Quran, I don't tell people I believe in the Quran alone. No. If you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 2 to verse 5, you the believer, you have to believe in the Quran and the previous books. Believing is different from following. I actually follow the Quran for my guidance alone for Islam. I follow the Quran for my guidance in Islam alone. So I'm not only saying I believe in the Quran alone. No. I believe in the previous books God has sent, but I follow the Quran alone for my guidance. People will hate you for following the truth. It's normal. Salam, Fashion Soiree, you are welcome. For all those who are joining Tribe of Judah, thank you all for coming. Nathaniel says, do you believe Jesus was crucified? No, I don't. And believing is a choice. You know, I can choose to believe something and not to believe. What the Quran tells me is what I believe, right? Quran tells me, no, he was not crucified. For me, it's not logical for me to see the servant of God, extreme, high, honored servant of God to be crucified by the pagans. No, I don't believe in such. No, Jesus is beyond that. Yeah, Fashion Suarez says, thank you. I now understand very well. I appreciate that. Thank you. Aliyu Musa says that your necklace is halal to put it. Now you tell me where it's haram not to put. For those who don't know, go to Quran chapter 35 verse 12. You can use adornment, you can use jewelry. It is halal. You can wear it and thank God for it. It's never haram, right? You can wear ornament, you can wear jewelries, you can wear trinkets, wear any necklace you want. It is never haram. Every mushrik who tells you it's haram, let him open the Quran and show you where God says it's haram. It is only the mushriks who will keep telling you wearing necklace is haram. I wear it because of you mushriks. You will see it and then comment with your ignorance out there, right? Daniel Abbas says they do add alcohol to wine to make it intoxicated, or keep wine for longer period to increase the, yes, and so can they filter it out of it. Yes, they can filter it. Please, can I read some verses in the Quran for guidance? Not only reading, the Quran is meant to be studied as well. Not only reading, you read and follow it, right? So don't just read the Quran, right? Yeah, thank you, Sayyid Abdul Basit. Yes. Daniel Abbas, the direction you are going is not interesting. Daniel, Nathaniel said, do you know Quranites.com? Yes, I've seen it before. Yeah. Please, sir, what can you say about prophetic hadith? There's nothing called prophetic hadith. They are all lies. They attributed to the prophet. Look, there's no single hadith books on earth that the prophet actually approved or gave authority to be written down. No. He never gave Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Jamia Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Sunan Ibn Nisa. He never met them. He never gave any approval for them to write it. When you take the hadith books, you say according to Anas bin Malik, according to so and so, Abu Huraira, according to Nana Aisha, this is what they write. You never see according to the prophets, I gave the authority that this mushriks to write this about me. No. According to their own Sahih Muslim hadith 3004, the prophet told them, according to the hadith, I don't believe in that. La taktubu anni waman kataba anni ghayra al-Quran falyamhu wa hadithu anni. He told them not to write anything from him except the Quran. And whoever writes anything from the Quran should wipe it out, should efface it. But these mushriks keep being boastful and then proud of the garbage books they've written for years. And they think they have guidance. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 5 minutes more to go. Loyola says, is zakat obligatory for those who do not receive monthly salary? If you go to Quran chapter 6, verse 144, right? No, sorry. Chapter 6, verse 1. Yeah, let me see. Quran chapter 6, verse 141. Quran chapter 6, verse 141, right? Yeah, let me see if I can put it on the screen. I have a lecture. Concerning zakat, and according to the Quran. If you check my YouTube channel, you see it. But however, Quran chapter 6, verse 141, and he is the one who established gardens trellised and untrellised, and date palms and plantain, which have different kinds of food, and olives and pomegranates, similar and dissimilar. Eat from its fruits when it fructifies, and give its due on the day of its harvest. And do not waste. Indeed, he does not like the profligate, right? So when we talk about zakat, is the money you give in order to purify yourself, according to Quran chapter 92, verse 17 to 20 to 21, right? You give in order to purify your own soul. That is what we call zakah, like something to purify yourself. So you are giving charity to purify yourself. That is zakah. So the zakah is only when you have the means for it. It's not like necessarily by force, like a tax force. You understand? You have the means to give, you give. You understand? Just like salat, if you are sleeping and the salat pass you, is gone. If somebody is sleeping and salat is gone, is gone. Just like the youth who slept in the cave for 309 years in Quran chapter 18, verse 9 to verse 21. They slept for 309 years. Are you saying they are going to make up the missed salat? The answer is no. Yeah, thank you, Nikki, for the gift. Thank you. They are not going to make up for the missed salat. It's gone. So similarly with the zakat issue, if you don't have the means at that time, it's gone. You wait at a better time. If you are also, given something, then you can. I watched a video where a beggar was given a gift and he took out of the gift and gave somebody else something. You understand? Because he has also received something. So he took something out of what he was given to do charity, to give charity. So that kind, right? So last question I'm taking is from Tools and Things. He says, Salam, brother, can you explain how we know the Quran is preserved? There is a part which the Quran says we will preserve it. Is there proof from history and other examples in the Quran? This answer is very simple. If you go to Quran chapter 35, verse 31, and we read up to verse 32, I'm going to share the screen, and this is my last question, unfortunately. For those on TikTok, if I'm not able to answer your question, pardon me, okay? I'll be here again next week, inshallah. And I'm getting exhausted. I need to find something to eat, right? Quran chapter 35, verse 31 to verse 32. And what we inspire to you of the book is the truth, confirming what was before it. God is talking to the prophet. Indeed, God to his servant is what? Cognizant and conversant. Now, verse 32. Then we transmit. Now, the word awrathna, this waratha is talking about inheritance. So God will cause the book to be inherited by those he has chosen. So he says, then we transmit the book to those we have chosen among our servants. So God will decide whose servant is going to inherit the book. Remember, Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam inherited the Quran by what? Inspiration and revelation. And then it was written down. If you go to Quran chapter 98, verse 2 to verse 3, it says, Rasulun min Allah yatlu sufan mutahara fiha kutubun qayyima. So he has the suhuf, which has the writings in them. If you go to Quran chapter 25, verse 5, even the disbelievers at his time, they bore witness that he wrote the verses of the Quran. They said, Iktatabaha, فَهِيَ تُمْلَى عَلَيْهِ بُكْرَةً وَعَسِيلًا. So the verses of the Quran, the Prophet wrote them on the suhuf, the mushaf, right? The suhuf. So now, this book, which was revealed to him based on inspiration and revelation, it doesn't have to be preserved as a paper book directly throughout the years to reach you and I. God will choose servant, just like he chose Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam as a servant, and then he got it written down. God will choose servants to write it down, and then we will have it today. This same book I have here, this text I have in this paper, this is not how Prophet Muhammad received it. It came to him and it has to be written down. So he wrote it down. And now today we have the book. You see, this is the different printing. It is not for him to have the same copy that he has used his time, like the same copy or the way he wrote it. Then exactly we will have the same copy passed down, generations preserved and got here. No. It is God to preserve the words of the Quran and pass it to generations that we can receive. But it is not to be written in the book whereby the prophet will pass it and say, hey, this is my copy. This is the one, cannot be tempered. So give it to this generation, give it to them. No, not in that context, right? So it is in the context of the way God has revealed it by inspiration and revelation. God will choose his servant to inherit it the same way, and the book will pass around. His words will pass around. So there is nowhere in the Quran where God asks the people to preserve the Quran. Neither does he tell them to protect the Quran. It is not the duty of a human being to do that. Simple. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I bring the topic to an end. I've done 2 hours and it's enough. I'm exhausted. Thank you all for those on TikTok for the gifts. I appreciate that. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate that. And thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I have to bring the topic to an end, and we keep in touch again, hopefully next week. Thank you very much, Musa Arabogo. I appreciate that. Actually, Salis Jimmy, the questioner is not an Hadithiyun. He also follows the Quran, but actually he's posting the question based on how the mushriks actually disturb people concerning these questions, right? It's just easy question. If I am interact with a mushrik, I will turn the tables around and throw it to the mushrik, and you see the mushrik stammer. I'll get them at the right time, inshallah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where correctional officer brings to the topic to an end, and we will keep in touch hopefully next week. I thank you all for your presence, and I appreciate your support. Momade says, do you think that performing ruqya on oneself can help? Throughout the Quran, you will never see any prophet performing what we call ruqya. However, this ruqya is the instance of when they want to recite the Quran on you and other things. Look, God has given you a dua in Quran chapter 23, verse 97 to 98. Rabbi a'udhu bika min hamazati shayatin wa a'udhu bika rabbi an yadurun. If the devils are disturbing your life, just call on God, and then he will protect you from the temptations and then the appearance of the devils next to you. I don't condone ruqya. It is a concept they invented from their own hadith books and whatever have you. Prophet Zakir at alayhi salam, if he had any problem, God would have said, do ruqya for yourself. However, he told him what? To abstain from talking to the people for 3 nights, and then his deeds were, his wishes were accomplished. So I don't see the notion of whatever people are saying, ruqya. No, it's not inspired by the Quran. Forget about that. Remember, we are taking our guidance from the Quran and not from external sources when it comes to our deen. Remember that. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence. I appreciate that. Thank you, Baba Sidu. Salis, Heal with Bina. Sister Bina, I see you. Salam. Thank you for your presence as well. Baba Sidu, Abu Thomas, Nara Power, Holy Boles. Holy Boles says, I only have one question, bro. What are your thoughts about janaza? I have a video on my YouTube channel, Holy Bolos YouTube channel. Please go to the general issues playlist. I have that this thing there, right? If I have to keep answering questions, I'll stay here forever. I know people will love to ask questions, and I'm willing to answer, but I need to keep my time limited. If I stay too long, I'll spoil it. So, ladies and gentlemen, on TikTok also, thank you all for your time and presence. I appreciate that. Hopefully we meet again next week, God willing. And Salis, thank you very much. Thank you all. Peace be upon you all, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I bring the topic to an end. Peace and one love to you all.